Good evening, good evening. We are live here in the 92.1 FM studios for Whose Opinion Is It Anyway? How's it going, Facebook? Hello to everyone out there in Radio Land. This is Candace along with
Victor. How's everybody doing?
Everybody's doing good, Vic. They're doing good.
All right.
They're just waiting to see what ridiculous thing you're going to say this week.
What ridiculous thing I'm going to say?
You're the ridiculous one.
Oh, I'm the ridiculous one.
Yeah.
I thought I was the pontificator. The pontificator.
If that's what works for you.
If that's what works for me.
It also seems that you're the imaginative one
as well.
Wow.
Okay. Okay.
No, but how was your week, Vic? How'd that go for you?
Pretty good, actually. Pretty good.
Tell me something good. Tell me something good. What happened in your week?
Well, my semester is winding down. We're coming to a close in our final weeks and whatnot. Have about maybe 2 weeks remaining. And so now we're getting ready for the summer semester and so forth. Looking forward to a staycation, actually. I'll take a vacation later on, actually in the summer months and so forth. But, so far so good. What about you?
Oh, gosh. You know what? This week has been, it's been long but fast, if that makes sense. If that makes sense.
Long but fast.
Yeah, like Friday came out of nowhere.
Okay.
So,
So you've been busy.
I've been.
Okay. In the throes of politics, I'm sure.
Listen.
In that domain.
It's all good.
It's all good.
Literally, my daily affirmation is, don't complain about the life you prayed for.
Uh-oh.
Don't curse the life you've been blessed with.
All right, okay.
Just because you don't understand every intricate detail.
You'll understand it better by and by. That's what the old folks used to say.
Right. Right. And I'm trying to find our Facebook friends. I can't find us yet.
Uh-oh.
And Paul knows I'm about to say Paul. I can't find us on Facebook, Paul. But yeah, so this week though,
long but fast.
But fast, yeah. And
Please explain that.
Because you know how when you have like a lot of things going on.
Oh yeah.
And so there are just so many different things you have to. That's me moving this cord. Isaac's not here, but you have so many different things to attend to.
Okay.
But it just seems like it's taking forever to get to them. But then by the time you do one thing, it's like. It's time to do another. It's time to do another. It's time to do another. So long but fast.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I get that. I get that.
I am excited though because it's warming up outside. And
don't speak too fast, man.
Listen, I looked at the weather and stuff next week.
I looked
at the stuff. We're about to hit some 60s.
Oh, are we?
Like 67.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know what happened.
Spring is finally showing up.
Michigan is being Michigan is the best I can put it.
Okay.
And so, and as you can see, we have that lovely park area across the street from us. So we'll be able to see some of the summer concerts as they start.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because Paul is also a concert promoter.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He's a man.
We call him Barry Gordy for a reason.
Right. And so, starting this summer, hopefully around June or July, there'll be some lovely festivities happening in the park. I know that coming up, there is going to be the Father's Day. What is it? Lunch that he does every year? Father's Day barbecue.
All right. Okay.
So so he does that. He does that every year.
Fathers need some love.
They do.
You know what I mean?
They do, and it was a beautiful event. I came last year. I bought my dad out, and so we had the opportunity to enjoy the lovely barbecue that Paul put together. There were performances out there and everything, so I was really excited about that.
Okay, fantastic.
So he'll be setting that up again for Father's Day. I don't want to say the fact that he just completely skipped Mother's Day is a little odd, but
Well, it was raining and snowing then, right?
Mother's Day hasn't happened yet.
I mean, last year.
I'm talking about this year.
I'm talking about last year.
This year. Paul said, forget that.
Oh, man.
No, but,
It's coming up.
Yeah, it is. So if y'all have a chance to come out and check that out, Paul, Facebook. So
right.
I don't see it.
I'm on it on my page and on everybody else's.
Man. Okay, Vic. So About this topic from last week.
Okay.
I believe we were supposed to be doing a continuation.
Yes.
Yeah.
On thug love, huh?
Thug love.
On thug love.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You need a thug in your life. Like
nah, that wasn't it. That wasn't it.
Because your man ain't loving you right. You need a thug in your life.
That wasn't it. Hey, Paul, I need you to come here for a second. But yeah, I believe the topic was more so along the lines of how you lure women with money and then call them gold diggers. I think that was the topic we did last week.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
Oh, please.
Yeah, that was the topic from last week. How you lure women with money and then call them gold
How we lure women. How me as a man, how I lure women with money.
No, on Facebook Live.
Okay. This would be interesting. This would be interesting.
On Facebook, but it takes you when you click on it.
That'll be interesting. Candace.
Yeah.
But I think the topic
comments,
was, why do good girls love bad boys?
That wasn't the topic.
That was the topic, man.
That wasn't the topic.
That's the topic.
No,
why
wasn't.
women like a thug?
That wasn't
they
the
want
topic.
a thug in their life.
No.
They need a THUG.
I'm pretty sure the topic was because you were talking about
Your man ain't loving you right.
Your experiences with how y'all were all flashy with money and whatnot. How you tried to buy women into your lives and then call them gold diggers. I believe that's what we were talking about.
Oh my goodness. What did Kanye say? Didn't say she was a gold digger.
No, but let's be serious. Is it fair? Is it fair if the very thing you're using to attract women is your money and your status? Is it fair? Not you, Vic.
I'm just saying.
Vic's like, I ain't got enough money.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that now. I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
But
in your attempt to paint men with a broad brush.
Is it fair to call a woman a gold digger if you are using your financial status to attract her to begin with?
So let's narrow our concern. So who are we talking about here? What kind of man are we talking about? Are you talking about
college professors who moonlight as preachers?
Oh, wow! Oh, you got jokes, huh? Oh, you got jokes. Oh, you got jokes. Ain't that something? College professors who moonlight as preachers.
Yes. We're talking about college professors who moonlight as preachers.
Wow. But normally the women that I date, they don't have a problem with sharing their wealth and resources. We pool our resources together. That's what we do. In our relationships, we do.
Man, I said that last week, Vic. You told me I lived in a fairy tale. I'm just saying.
But going back to your point, though, I'm gonna let you set that up. This premise that you have men who lure women with money, and then they call them out for doing that, right? They call them gold diggers because of that, right? So I'm throwing the ball back to you.
Okay.
Contextualize your premise.
That's the best way that I can help you out.
We're talking about older men. We're talking about
whomever, whatever
cat
age,
daddies,
whatever cat daddies,
sugar daddies,
whatever age,
older men,
whatever
trying
age,
to get with younger women,
whatever age,
and lure them with their money, their position, their status.
You have young men that do that. These rappers and stuff. People who normally have low self-esteem, who think they can't get a certain type of woman.
Oh, okay.
Then all of a sudden they get these women, this money, and then they go after a certain type of woman, but then they want to call her a gold digger when they went after her with their financial status and resources.
Yeah. Is that really their money, though?
Yeah, I don't care.
In the rap videos, is it their cars, is it their mansion?
I mean, we're not really in the subject if it's really their money or not. We're saying
it's an illusion.
Is it fair to call women gold diggers if that is how you attempted to find yourself in her company?
I was told that you have to be careful how you start something, because the same way that you start something, so goes how it will end.
So then we're in agreement. It's not fair to call her a gold digger if you presented her with gold.
There are some gold diggers out there.
Oh, I agree. I think there are some women who
like
are
Eddie
raised.
Murphy said, half.
Right.
Remember that? Eddie Murphy, half.
I think you do have some women who are raised to seek out men with money To
Okay,
or if
sure,
nothing
back in the
else,
day, back in the day, of course.
Or I
But
wouldn't say
even
that.
still now, though,
I
you
think
still
that
have that
they
now.
are raised to make sure that if someone wants to have you in their life, they're able to take care and provide for you.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I still don't think it's fair to call them a gold digger, though, because they want to make sure that the provision will be there.
So now you're talking about, we have to go back to like the 1950s. Maybe the 1960s.
Oh, you're trying to be
that's
funny.
where that paradigm began to shift. It began to shift in the 1960s.
Trying to be funny.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying because last week we talked about the fact that now you have more women in college. You have more women out. It seems anyway. As far as my observations are concerned, in gainfully employed in the workforce and whatnot.
Yes.
They're serving as supervisors and managers, department heads, CEOs, COOs, CFOs and whatnot, entrepreneurs and so forth. And they're making more money than men. And now, especially as it relates to African American women, you know, especially upwardly mobile African American women are complaining about the type of men that they encountered. And they're saying now that, hey, I'm not encountering the type of man that is worthy of my, worthy of my presence, in so many words, worthy of what I bear, what I bring to the table, financially, educationally, career-wise, etc., even status-wise. That's what some women are saying.
But even the Bible tells you don't be unequally yoked. I mean,
wait a minute.
You know.
Don't be unequally yoked.
Even the Bible says
wait a minute. Oh, so you agree with that premise?
How can two walk together?
So you agree with that premise then?
I think that I understand what they're saying to a point. I get it. I get it. Vic.
Wait a minute.
Vic, would you want a woman that you are not able to hold a conversation
with? So you're an elitist.
Would you want a woman that you are not able to hold a conversation with?
So you're a petty bourgeoisie.
No.
You're a petty bourgeoisie.
What did I just say? Did I say anything about money? I just said, would you want a woman that you cannot hold a conversation with?
I asked you earlier. I said, Candace, what's going on? The rent. Ain't nothing going on but the rent. You gotta have a job if you want to be with me. That's what she said, y'all.
Yeah. Rent though, huh? We're still renting. Is that what we're doing? We're
mortgage. We call it mortgage.
We don't even need to have a mortgage. Can we just pay some property taxes and keep it pushing?
There you go. Same premise. Same point.
But I'm just saying, would you want a woman that you could not hold a conversation with?
Now she has to have a conversation.
Okay then.
Right? But I was making really a material based.
But you didn't say that. In your argument, you also said same education level and same, right?
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
And not necessarily saying that just because they have a master's degree, they can hold a conversation. There are a lot of I almost said something rude. There are a lot of people that it's kind of like
True that.
How'd you get this degree?
You went to school.
How did you get this degree?
True that.
All right.
No doubt.
I'm not sure if we're up on Facebook yet. Doesn't look like it. I think Paul is still getting us together, Facebook audience.
And there was a provocative point, Candace, that a couple of years ago, I forget this guy's name, but he was a black man, African American, and he was saying explicitly that those type of black women, your upwardly mobile black women who are having a difficult time in terms of attracting a mate, they need to leave these black men alone. That's what he said. He said that.
A black man said that?
A black man said that.
What does he mean by leave these black men alone?
He was saying that if these women, these upwardly mobile women who have this status, this education, this earning power, etc., if they can't attract men who are of the same ilk, right, then they should keep it moving. Keep it moving and broaden your horizons and do something different. That's what he was saying. That's what he said. I didn't say that. He said that.
I mean, I guess that's a suggestion. That's one way to look at it.
I'm just saying
that's one way to look at it.
You know.
It's a suggestion.
Because my point, though, is, okay, you might be a corporate executive, but why can't you date the brother who's a hard-working brother? He may have a blue-collar job, but he's an honest, upright brother, right? He gets up every day, goes to work, handles his business and so forth. He may not have the same educational background that you do and the same earning power possibly that you do, and he might have. In some cases, you have the reverse. You have the man who doesn't have the status, but he's got the cash. She has the status, right? I mean, you have that too.
Right.
So we're dealing with some class-based issues too, as it relates to what this guy was saying. I think. What you think?
Listen,
since we're talking about our overall,
I think that
our overall topic is what divides us.
I think that speaks to a certain mindset, though, because who's to say that the quote-unquote blue-collar working professional could not, still move in the corporate world?
No doubt. Sure.
So I think that if your automatic cutoff point is simply because of a job and not because of other things that go into that, then you have a lot to.
I'm just saying. I've heard some people make some comments like that. Who were calling those women out on the carpet, essentially, because in their estimation they were being elitist. Essentially, that's what they were saying.
Right. I think for me though. Again, I think, but I'm different. Though.
Okay.
So in the fact that if I can take you into several different rooms, if you can go and you can hold a conversation.
Absolutely.
I don't think that it matters what you do.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
But I understand that you do have certain corporate people who might not want to take the sanitation engineer somewhere with them.
Sure.
Who might not want to take the janitor or the, I think but that's when you get caught up in hype.
Yeah, that's some class stuff right there.
Yeah, that's
so-called. Anyway.
Yeah, that's what.
They just got so-called. They just left the South.
Wow.
Got $5 over their breakfast.
Well, I think you have the same thing.
I'm just saying. Just got the job yesterday.
I think
hello, somebody.
You have the same thing though when you get these men, these professional ball players and stuff. I don't even think they care about your education level. They just sincerely care about how you look.
Oh yeah, Men tend to be very visual in that regard. We do.
Vain.
Yeah. There's vanity involved in that, absolutely. You know what I'm saying? No question. So that's another issue. But immediately when you made reference to that, Candace, guess who the couple I thought about? Now this is before your time, but this goes back. you was probably a little kid at this point. This is back when Mike Tyson. Remember when Mike Tyson was married to Robin Givens?
Yeah, that was a whole mess. That was a whole mess.
Goodness! And people were saying, okay, why? I mean, I like both of them. Okay, don't get me wrong. I like Mike. What's up, Mike? And I like Robin Givens, right? But people were saying, now how? That seems like an odd couple. Robin Givens and Mike Tyson. What attracted Robin Givens to Mike Tyson, and what attracted Mike Tyson to Robin Givens? Because they seem to, be little, they might be interested in another kind of person or persons.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm. I think that though with
is it the money?
I think for both
the status?
of them, I think for both of them that was a mutually beneficial relationship. He had the benefit of having a beautiful woman on his arm, and she had the benefit of being
who's intelligent.
Right.
She's intelligent
she
too.
Is. And he had the benefit of being with a woman that was desired.
But they called her a gold digger. They did.
And
Candace,
she had
they called Robin Givens a gold digger because Mike Tyson was making some money, man.
Right.
He was making some money, more money than her at that time.
But my thing is, if he pursued her, why is she the gold digger? Why is she the gold digger?
I'm saying society was saying that because for some reason, I remember that time period. There were people who were hating on Robin Givens. They were like, Mike, watch out, Mike, watch out. Because if Robin don't get you, her mother's going to get you.
We got a comment that said that the Lord said, let us be equally yoked, so we can't be together if I'm bringing all the bacon. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
It's just saying.
Is that a woman?
Yeah, you know it.
Wait a minute. What if the brother's going through a transition?
How long is it going to take you to transition?
What if he
how long is this transition?
If he came up on a rough patch.
How rough is this patch for how long?
It might be a couple months, might be a year.
Might be 10 years, might just be
10 years. We got an issue. We got an issue here now. You know what I'm saying? As long as he getting up, going to work, looking for a job. You know what I'm saying? Looking for employment. You know what I'm saying? Looking to be gainfully employed. I'm just saying.
I hear you. I hear you.
I don't know. I think this is an issue. I think this is an issue with couples because in some cases, I'm trying not to paint people with a broad brush.
Okay.
But in some cases, women can't handle the fact that they just might make more money than their mate at this time, and they can't handle that. In some cases, I'm just saying.
Respectfully disagree.
They can't handle it. They can't handle it.
I think you living in a different time. Come to
you
this
think
time.
So?
Yeah, come from the past.
I'm in this time.
I don't think you are.
I'm in this time.
I don't think you are. Let me tell you why.
Prove it to me then.
Because there are plenty of instances where you have men who are living off of women who are doing all of this work.
Got that too. You got that too.
So obviously, if they didn't like it or they couldn't handle it, they wouldn't still be with this man. You have women letting men live and lay up for free. So come on now.
Lay up.
Come on now.
Lay up.
Shack.
Well, they called that back in the day. Back in my day, shacking.
That's exactly what it is.
They called it shacking back in the day, right? So true that you do have some men who do that, right?
Right.
You know, way back in the day, say around World War II, they used to call it Jody 4F. Breath and britches.
We call him Jody too, baby boy.
Baby boy.
Baby
Jody. Okay. Jody. Jody got your girl, we go. That was an old song. That was a Johnny Taylor song, right? You don't know nothing about no Johnny Taylor.
Right.
No, but I do think that this whole issue of finances sometimes it is an issue now across socioeconomic lines, across ethnic lines, and so forth. You know, experts say that one of the issues that breaks up a marriage is finances.
Right.
The issue of finances. You know what I'm saying? So what do you do then, Candace? Because I think that security is a misnomer in this day. There's no such thing as security. We live in a neoliberal society, right? Whereby everything is globalized. Jobs have been outsourced and whatnot. The economy is shifting right before our very eyes. There's no such thing as financial security.
Okay.
I mean, it's an illusion.
Right.
To a certain degree, it's an illusion.
But it's always been an illusion, though.
Explain,
it's always been
please,
an illusion.
Explain.
Now, this is going to take us all off the subject.
Okay.
There's this whole system that we've set up. And at any given time, whoever's in control of the system decides you're going into a depression or you're not or whatever. Yeah. So there's really no such thing as financial stability.
So now you're in agreement with James Cone concerning what he was saying last week about Marxist analysis, right? That we buy into these ideas that, I got to use some Marxist language here, that the ruling classes puts forth, so the masses buy into these ideas that are propagated in the media and social media, in marketing, advertising, in the various institutions, educational institutions, religious institutions, right? So these material ideas are not necessarily our own,
right?
But they come from the ruling element, the ruling class in our society. And we respond to it, which was really, in part, the premise. Well, it was. I wouldn't say it was the overriding premise, but it was a part of the other Eddie Murphy movie, Trading Places. Remember that? That movie,
I remember
Trading
that.
Places?
Yeah, I remember that.
You know. So yeah. So what do you think? What do you think? This whole illusion, of security. Economic security. Now, I'm not saying that a person shouldn't plan and put away their nest eggs and things like that, and invest in effective financial instruments to assist them. Right? I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that we can't put too much stock in that. Is what I'm saying.
Right.
Right. And turn that into a demigod of sorts.
But this is the thing, though. People do put stock into it.
True.
And with the people that put stock into it, those who are, if you will, benefiting the most from this illusion.
Sure.
If it's a woman,
she's a gold digger. She's a gold digger. She's a gold digger. See, folks, she agrees with me. Women are gold diggers.
That's why Vic's not married. In case y'all don't want to think he's single, he just answered the question.
Oh,
he just told y'all whether he was single or not, in case you were wondering.
Man. I got some candidates. I got some
Jan. Jan.
Look, I'm interviewing.
Jan.
I'm in the process of interviewing.
Sure, Jan.
I got my pad, right? My pen. You know, I'm taking
And
notes.
I noticed that pad is empty.
No, it
Sure,
ain't.
Jan.
No, it ain't. Look at these pages.
Empty.
Right, there you go.
Hey,
There
Paul,
you go.
I wish you would have got the fact that he flipped to like 7 empty pages first.
Right. I'm interviewing.
He's interviewing imaginary friends.
I'm waiting for the Lord to send me my God-sent woman.
You know who says that? You know who says that?
Who says that?
People who done missed her. That's who
But see,
says
remember,
that.
Candace, our time ain't God's time. He's an on-time God. Yes, he is.
And it sounds
He may
like
not come when you want him, but he shows up just on time.
absolutely, and it sounds like this time he skipped you. That's
skip
what
me.
it sounds like.
Because I got agency. I choose to be in the state that I'm in.
Right.
I choose to
Is
be
it a choice
in the
if you
state
don't
that
have
I'm
an
in.
option? Is it a choice if you
I
don't
got
have an
options,
option?
though. I got options.
And on this note, I'm going to thank everyone that's listening live 92.1 FM. Also going to thank everyone that has joined us over on YouTube at Spectacle TV. Paul, did I say that right? Okay, Spectacle TV on YouTube. Thank you so much. All of our Facebook people, click the Spectacle TV link over on YouTube. 92.1 FM Live. Thank you for those who are kind of texting in. I think we have some people who have finally kind of clicked that YouTube link. Thank you. But you also have to comment on YouTube in order for us to see what you're saying, because otherwise we won't see it. But we do want to thank Flint Odyssey House for providing us with such a great platform for Big Vic to talk about how lonely he is. Like, this is awesome. Thank you, Flint Odyssey House, for providing us.
I don't see no ring in her finger, folks. I don't see no ring in her finger.
That's because I take it off. You can't take Sam to the beach.
Right.
I'm just playing. If I wasn't single, I am now, huh?
There you go.
I am now.
No doubt.
No, but again, just thank you to Flint Odyssey House for providing such wonderful programming on 92.1 FM. Always thank you, Paul, that I am allowed to harass you every week.
Very Gordy. The one and only.
Right. And having all this wonderful technology makes it easy for me to harass you on different platforms. But yeah. So Vic, let's get back to this though. Seriously.
Sure. Okay.
Seriously.
Which point?
Seriously.
You
ready?
I'm
ready for this?
No doubt.
How is it fair to call someone a gold digger,
Lord.
male or female?
Back to that
Male,
question.
if the way you attracted them was with your money.
In this economy, though, the question is, it might not be unless you're, in the top 1%, right, or the 5% or the 10%. You know what I'm saying? Unless you're making that kind of money and whatnot. I think the question is our money. Right? Mm-hmm. I think because unless you are wealthy,
right,
in this economy, man,
I like how you chose the word wealthy instead of rich. I like
absolutely,
that.
Yeah. Unless a person is wealthy, man, and you're planning on getting married, you're planning on building a family and so forth, or at least building a life with your special mate. I think it's we have to have this conversation about finances and whatnot, and what we can do together to build a life together. I think that's what's missing. That's what's missing, to be honest with you. That's what's missing. Because of course you have men who play that game, play that role or whatnot, and you have women who play that role, play that game. They chase after men who have a lot of money and status and so forth. And we see that, in popular media and so forth. We know about the Tiger Woods, and we know about Michael Jordan and his first marriage and how
Whoa!
I mean, he cut her. In both cases, they cut those women some huge checks.
No, in Michael Jordan's case, for his first marriage, she was shooting with him in the gym, and so therefore.
She was shooting in the gym.
Come on now.
She was shooting.
She was with Michael when there was no future in.
Wait a minute. There was always a future with Michael Jordan.
What was it?
Once he got to North Carolina,
Come on
the University
now.
of North Carolina, it was assured. Look, He's the same age as me. I saw that guy. I remember that guy coming up through the ranks, right?
Man.
When he was at the University of North Carolina, he was a baller. Look, everybody knew he was going to the NBA. Without question. Without question. It was a foregone conclusion that Michael Jordan was going to be making some money in the NBA. Now, I don't think that people didn't see how huge he would become, but they knew he was going to be a prolific NBA player.
Either way, though, she was
no
with
question.
him. She was going to be with him either way. So I could see if maybe you had that argument.
Can we say that?
She was there when he didn't have money. Was she not there when he didn't have money?
When in high school?
Come on,
in
now.
high school?
Was she not there when he didn't have
she dated
money?
him in high school.
He wasn't Air Jordan when she met him. Stop.
So is she from North Carolina?
Stop. She wasn't Air Jordan when he met her. When she met him. Come on now.
Look, when she met him, he was on his way to get paid.
I was with you.
When she met him,
I was willing to have that conversation with you about Tiger Woods' wife. I was gonna go, okay, we could say that.
Why is that?
Because she got with Tiger after Tiger was Tiger. So I was like, all right, I might let you have that. I might let you have that.
But
one.
she saw. I'm not questioning. I don't know. I don't know.
But is it
I don't
wrong?
know these people.
Is it
I'm
wrong
just
for
saying.
your mate to see their potential? Come on now.
She saw dollar sign.
Nah, I don't think so.
I'm not saying that she didn't see him as a good person.
I don't
You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that it was hard for her not to see those
Y'all hear
dollar
that,
signs
ladies?
when they met.
All the more reason not to marry Vic.
Oh, wait a
Because
minute.
Vic is on
Don't
the
be hating
radio.
on me.
Vic is on the radio, so Vic is like, you see dollar signs. You see where he's going.
Don't hate on me.
You know, this is
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
This is International V here. International V.
What's up, ladies?
See?
They call me Goldie.
Somebody has watched one blaxploitation film
There
too
you go.
many.
That was my era when I was a kid. You know what I mean? When I was a kid.
So, ladies, you might as well give it up. All those imaginary options that Vic has, because you are not here patting him on his back before he gets big on radio, before he becomes international. You know, he's got fans in Australia,
Oh, wow.
so you probably already missed the boat.
Wow.
Just saying.
Wow. Australia.
Dennis said, what is the topic? Dennis, the topic is Vic. The topic is International Vic, a.k.a. Goldie. That's the topic. No, but Dennis, maybe you can answer this question. Dennis, do you think it's fair if someone uses their money to attract a mate? Is it fair to then call that mate a gold digger if that was the way you tried to attract her to begin with? No, Paul. No. Boy, I tell you.
So what about the thug question, though? What about the thug life? You know what I'm saying?
I think that what happens there, what the appeal there is protection.
Okay. Protection.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Elaborate.
I think it's a skewed view of masculinity, meaning he's tough, he's strong, he won't let anything happen to me.
Okay.
You know?
So the educated guy, you know, he's a dweeb.
I mean,
he's a nerd.
Look,
he's a dweeb.
Look.
He can't handle his business.
The only way Laura Winslow noticed Steve Urkel was because he turned into Stefan Urkel. She didn't even care about him before that. Yeah. So I'm just saying, that's the only way.
So you say that at some level a man has to flex. At some level,
I think
in his own way.
I think it's whatever the person is into. I don't think it's fair because I think that some of these ladies would prefer a guy with education over a guy with brawn. You know, so some women, some women would prefer guys who sit up and who are gamers over people who are athletes.
They play social media all day.
No, like video games.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Play video games all day.
Yeah.
Playing with their children and whatnot.
Some people will they want to they'll come play a game with their guy or whatever. I personally can't do the whole you play games all day because I go to work all day.
There you go. See, there you go.
So,
is that a matter of being equally yoked?
Absolutely.
You go to work all day. Your man is at home playing video games.
Not mine.
I'm just saying.
Whomever.
Yes, folks, Candace's man is at home playing video games while she's at work.
Paul, let me get that camera real quick. If y'all believe Goldie, sorry for you. Sorry for you if you out here believing Goldie.
No, but I had a conversation with a lady friend of mine, and she was trying to shed
At
light.
one of your imaginary tea parties?
This is one of my women.
They gonna be looking at you
You know
crazy.
who you are. What's up, Pocahontas?
And the real Vic comes out when the sun comes out, boy.
There you go.
I thought they said your kind came out at night, but apparently your kind comes in.
I am nocturnal.
They said your kind comes out at night, but apparently not.
No. But I was talking to this, lady friend of mine, and she was trying to shed light on the matter because I was sharing with her what we talked about last week, right? Mm-hmm. And she was saying that, well, some women want a man who they can't run over. You know what I'm saying?
I can understand that.
Especially like if and she put me in the mind of the kind of woman who's upwardly mobile, whatnot, gainfully employed. Mm-hmm. She may be single, maybe raising a family and so forth by herself for whatever reason. She might be a widow. Mm-hmm. She might have been married before, but she might have suffered a divorce, whatever the case may be. But she's used to handling her business, right? Mm-hmm. And so her point was that, in part, well, sometimes there are some men who can't handle that.
What's up, Isaac?
They become intimidated by dealing with that kind of confident, self-assured woman. So if you're a guy who doesn't have a strong personality, because I'm used to running that stuff. Right? I'm used to running businesses, organizations, corporations, etc. Right? I handle my business in the boardroom, but if you can't handle that, oh well, I can handle it. Mm-hmm. So what do you think about that? In part, that wasn't her whole perspective, but it was part of her perspective.
I think that, to a point, I understand what she's saying to a degree, and the fact that, like I just said, if I'm out working, you probably shouldn't be playing video games all day.
Absolutely.
You just shouldn't.
No
That's
doubt.
for me, though. Like, I can't speak for anyone else, and I don't want anybody to say I'm gamer shaming.
Gamer shaming.
No, because everything is you're shaming someone now.
Absolutely.
But we do have a comment here. It says, gold diggers, huh? Like you say, that is all dependent on how this relationship began, and was there an understanding to begin with? Some men set themselves up for that type of relationship, and some women can make themselves appear that way without even trying. Equally yoked or not, Victor, you can be guilty of entertaining Goldilocks.
What?
Yeah, and it says we are all guilty of failing to put our cards on the table at the start. We talk, but we don't communicate.
Equally yoked or not, Victor, you can be guilty of entertaining Goldilocks.
Apparently, he missed the part where you introduced yourself as Goldie. He missed
That's
it.
right.
Goldie can only entertain Goldilocks.
It takes game to get game.
Right. This conversation,
It's been a
this
different
conversation
this evening.
It's gone downhill.
It's gone downhill.
It's gone downhill.
There's Paul.
He's out there with that camera. Because as if they don't have enough views.
No doubt.
Of Goldie being ridiculous. They need one more of Goldie being ridiculous. Paul enjoys having, and then you all can't see him right now because he has the cameras on us.
Absolutely.
But now he's outside and he just thoroughly enjoys all of these little gadgets that he has. If you want a show on 92.1 FM, give Paul a call.
Absolutely.
Vic doesn't know the number to tell you the number to 92.1 FM. But if you want, give Paul a call if you would like a show on 92.1 FM. I do. Look at you. 810-259-9789. 810-259-9789. And then maybe Goldie will be here.
Signing autographs, lady.
But what do you think about that, though? Dennis raised an interesting point of we
Okay.
are all guilty of failing to put our cards on the table at the start.
Okay.
We talk, but we don't communicate. I agree
Yeah,
that
okay, that's a good point,
a
though.
lot
That's
of
a good
times
point.
people send representatives.
They send representatives.
Yeah, so it's like you think you're getting one person, and then 6 months down the line, you're like, wait a minute.
They catfishing you.
Yes.
To a certain degree.
Yeah, it's a mental catfish.
Mental catfish.
It's like, who is this?
Who is this?
What happened? I had no indication that you were going to tear my car.
Wow.
I had no indication.
No doubt.
You
Wow.
know, that my nice flowers that were firmly planted
Yeah.
in the ground are now just scattered all over my yard.
That's deep.
Yeah.
That's deep right there.
So I agree that people send representatives.
Why is that though? See, you hear about that nowadays, but why is that though?
Why?
What causes that?
Why? Because I don't think that if you want to approach a sane person, the best thing to do is show them how crazy you are up front. You're not going to get very far.
Oh wow.
You're
Okay. If that person is crazy themselves, because the crazy is gonna come out sooner or later. The real person is gonna show up sooner or later. You need to date that person for seasons. Bring them around
Bishop
your family.
says that
there you go.
all the time.
And I agree with him.
I agree with him on the part where you're not coming around my family. But I agree with him on the part where if you meet somebody, it's a miracle.
It's a miracle.
It's a miracle. This is who the Lord has sent.
Oh my goodness! Oh my God! We gotta pray over that. We gotta pray over that.
Right. But this is that I agree with the point that you should see someone when they're angry.
Oh yeah.
When they're upset with you,
yeah.
when they're mad.
Yeah,
Like how will they carry themselves then?
True. Oh yeah. True.
Yeah.
In the midst of adversity, you don't want
Yes.
to wish adversity on anybody.
Not at all.
But it's a good way to see how they can handle pressure or not. You know what I'm saying? So so I agree with that. That's a good point.
Yeah, I think that, and even though we're talking about that, we started off that way, but sometimes you do need to see how people handle financial difficulties.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
You do.
Absolutely. You know, no question about that.
Right.
How they handle their parents, the people in their lives, their siblings and whatnot, close people, close friends and so forth. Are they a thoughtful person, a kind-hearted person and so forth? That's very important too.
It is.
Like I said earlier, as men, we tend to be very visual. And we put an emphasis on 36, 24, 36, right?
Right.
We put an emphasis on that, but
Now, really,
that's-
that last 36 is how many years you're going to have to do in prison after she drive you crazy.
No doubt, no doubt. But the character, though, the character of the person is very important because those looks, they tend to fade over time, right?
I agree.
So the true person is the person that resides within. That sounds trite, but it's true.
Yeah.
In my estimation, right? The heart of the person, the mind of the person, the character of the person, etc., is very important, I think.
No, you're not alone in that thought process. I will say, though, for some people, looks tend to fall off over time.
Oh, wow, okay.
Some of us are black and cracking.
Well, yeah, to your point, there are people who have good genes.
Right.
They age well. They age well.
On the outside, on the
Oh,
inside,
yeah,
though.
yeah, no doubt about
Yeah.
that. I've met some women who were pretty physically, but you know.
That was one of my favorite lines from the movie Waiting to Exhale, which came out when I was way too young to be watching it.
Wow.
But one of their points was, if you're ugly inside, you're ugly outside.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt about
Yeah.
that. That's true. That's very true.
That was one of their points.
Absolutely.
But I think that's another thing that we do need to teach is that to put an emphasis on character.
Oh, yeah. No doubt. No doubt about that.
I'm going to
No doubt
read
about
something that Dennis said. I'm putting a disclaimer out here that these are
Uh-oh.
Dennis. You want to read that? That these are Dennis's thoughts.
Okay. All right.
Dennis from YouTube said,
Okay.
at this point, Goldie can be called Stormy and Locks can be called Donald. Be careful. Our society has perpetrated this fad by the government reinforcement of dismantling the nucleus family.
Huh. So it's a conspiracy, huh? It's a conspiracy, huh? This idea of deconstructing or dismantling the nuclear family.
I think that we've always said that division is a benefit to people who want power, authority, and control. Division,
okay.
no matter what the division is.
Okay.
Whether the division is I'm dividing the family,
Sure.
I'm dividing the races, I'm
Okay.
dividing the classes,
Okay.
whatever the division is,
Sure.
someone benefits from that division.
So I rule by chaos.
Absolutely.
Essentially.
Absolutely.
I keep you off kilter because I know what time it is.
Right.
I control the economic situation, the political situation,
Right.
the social situation, and whatnot. I keep you in a hissy fit, right? And I'm stable over here,
Right.
but they're unstable over there.
Right.
Oh, okay. I can see that. I can see that. Absolutely. Zig when they zag, that sort of thing. That kind of view.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I just think it's really interesting. I've learned a lot about you tonight, Vic. I've learned that you have these imaginary tea parties where
Tea
you
parties.
interview your stuffed animal women,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and you write
okay.
about them in your invisible ink on
Oh,
your
wow.
pads.
Okay.
I've learned that you like to call yourself Goldie.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I've learned. I do want to say this is just all in jest, though, people. Vic will
Absolutely.
be in the pulpit Sunday.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So this is just all
With the word
jokes.
from the Lord.
Right.
As we talk about God.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, my goodness.
So, but yeah. I think though with this topic, it's just interesting to think about the fact that because even. And it's been in the music for quite some time. And
Okay.
this is nothing new. It's
sure.
nothing new. I just think that music is always a
the
great
soundtrack.
indicator
Yeah.
of society.
Yeah,
It's the soundtrack
absolutely.
to society.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so... I'm not going to say that this music is any different. I think that you have more artists being vocal in this way about money, cars,
Oh, yeah.
and young ladies.
Absolutely.
And
That's a great point because we hear about the music industry really steering artists in certain directions.
right.
And those are
Only
some
putting
of the
out
directions.
certain types of music.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this falls right back in line with what James Cone was saying as it relates to Marxist analysis and how you have the ruling class that is propagating and conveying certain ideas to the broader society and so forth. But the question is this, Candace, to what end and for what purpose? For what purpose?
Again,
For what purpose?
because if I can
What's
keep
the
you in
purpose?
this chaos focused on all of this nothing,
Uh-huh.
then I can stay in control of you.
Okay.
If I can control the nothing that I've kept you in,
Okay.
keep you buying into it, purchasing it, doing whatever, then I still get to keep my power.
Absolutely,
Because the one thing we
okay.
have to understand is that power is given, not taken.
True.
Authority is given, not taken.
Uh-huh.
You can't just walk up to me and tell me you're in charge of me and you actually be in charge. I have to relent something in
Sure,
order
sure.
for you to be in charge.
Sure. Okay. So then music then, which is a powerful social force for organizing and mobilization and movement building and so forth. That we go back to the beginning of hip hop and whatnot. You had help me out, Public Enemy. You had Rakim.
You did. You
You
had
had
a lot of conscious music.
KRS-One and so forth. You had Boogie Down Productions.
You did.
You had the Poor Righteous Teachers and people who had a message in their music, so
Right.
to speak. Right. So I see your point with regard to that. But the question then is, why do certain artists give in to that temptation?
I don't know, because I remember a while ago Whitney Houston did an interview with Diane Sawyer.
Okay.
And she was asking Whitney about music and why
Okay.
she didn't like doing music anymore. And Whitney's response to Diane was because it wasn't fun anymore.
Oh,
that
okay.
music had become this dark thing that now as you see around you, it's like a lot of darkness. And that
She was saying something
and
there.
yeah, and she was saying, so Diane was like, well, what's fun? What would you rather sing about? And Whitney said love.
Okay. Yeah.
And being in love and
Absolutely.
loving someone and treating them correctly.
Ah. Okay.
And she was saying, artists are not allowed to make music like that anymore.
Does she elaborate on that?
I think she left it at that of, it's just not about love anymore.
Uh-huh.
It's not, it's all this darkness now.
Literally. Literally. There's a lot being said there.
Right.
There's a lot in her
Absolutely.
statement.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot in that
Oh,
statement.
yeah. There were a lot of little undertones
Absolutely.
that it was like, catch what I got
Absolutely.
for you. Yes.
Wow, interesting. Because I had a conversation with one of my classes a couple days ago, and I saw where the conversation was going in our class and so forth. And so I posed the question, right? And I asked these students which was more powerful, love or hate. Right?
No, but go ahead.
And guess what they said? Guess what they said?
What they say?
They said hate was more powerful than love.
Did they say why they thought that? This guy is having a field day.
Yeah, Paul is
like outside on the curb, people.
He's in his
He's
element.
on the curb with his cameras.
Absolutely.
Now you know you live in Flint.
Yeah, they might snatch it, run down the street.
No, that's just
jack
a joke.
you for your camera.
Your camera will still be there. Flint is all good. It's all good. It's all good.
Okay, if you say so.
But no,
okay.
why did they say that hate was stronger than love?
Well, I pressed them on that issue, on that question, right? And they were saying, they made a point that I thought was valid. They said that it's easier to hate. It's easier to hate than it is to love.
Now let me tell you why I feel like you were talking to a bunch of people who don't recognize the fact that hate is a surface emotion.
Sure, okay, sure.
And there's always something underlying.
Sure.
And in order to hate you, I must have first had to have some kind of feeling,
That's what some
connection,
people
or
say.
love
That's what some
for
people
you.
say. Yeah, there's a thin line between love and hate. That was a song.
Yeah.
That was a song back in the day.
Hate is literally love turned sour. That's all hate is.
And that does happen.
Right.
That does happen from time to time, right? When you have persons who used to be in love with one another, then they break up or they get into a divorce and whatnot, and they're bickering and fighting, and that love has turned into hatred.
Usually under hate, there are so many other emotions. Just like with anger, those are surface emotions. There's usually something more to that.
But what about then these divisions among people? What about these divisions? We're not talking now. We're not talking about interpersonal relationship solely or marriage solely.
Right.
What about groups of people? Since we're talking about what? Hear me out.
But I think that hate comes from. Go ahead.
Hear me out. In terms of that which divides, why are groups of people divided one against the other?
But I think with that hate. Again, underneath that hate,
like look at our society, for instance, how deeply divided our society is.
Underneath that hate, there's envy. Underneath that hate, there is adoration.
Break that down.
Underneath that hate, there's so many other things.
What about in a given society whereby you have a rigid social system, and you have an underclass which is being suppressed and oppressed and kept in that position politically, socially, economically, and otherwise?
But again, that's
what about that?
That's not just hate, though. That's frustration. That's so many other things. That is.
Is it? It's frustration.
That is.
Well, so if I'm a member of a group
that's being oppressed.
No. If I'm a member, if I'm an elite, right, and you are a member of an oppressed underclass group, in a rigid social system, which tries to reinforce the social norms that have been established, right?
Right.
So you're saying that is what a surface type emotion in terms of hate, the hatred that is being superimposed upon you.
Yeah, but the hate there is still surface. There's always something underneath that. It doesn't just start at hate, Vic. Never. Even with what you're describing.
Or is it? It goes back to the Marxist social analysis of a given society, whereby you have certain people with their hands on the levers of power, and they're controlling the flow of information in the educational institutions, the religious institutions, the social institutions, etc. In the media, etc.
Even then, those people that seek to oppress you, even then, they don't even hate you. They love the power. It's not even about you. They would oppress whomever to get. I'm trying to tell you, a lot of these people are opportunists.
True, there's opportunists. No doubt about that. There's opportunists now. No question about that.
Who love the chance at power. Who love the chance at authority.
Absolutely. No question about that. No doubt about that. But there's genuine hatred as well that is being expressed in the landmass.
I'm not saying that the hate isn't genuine. I'm saying there's something more to it.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not agreeing. Yeah. I'm not disagreeing with that point. I'm not disagreeing with that point.
At no point did I say that hate wasn't the genuine emotion. I just said that there was something more to it. Okay. We don't just start at hate. Somewhere in there is something else.
So can we look at an example of that, a case study of that?
Man,
right?
As it relates to that. I'm at work now. Can we take a targeted subject?
Back in the classroom.
Break that targeted subject. I know.
Back in the classroom.
We out here doing critical thinking.
There you go. Thinking is not against the law yet.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. The thing about all the people who were in jail.
What's that?
The thing about all the people who are in jail right now because they thought about some stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, we are turning into a fascist nation.
Right.
No question about that. There are fascist elements that have been unleashed. He's outside.
Yeah, that's called the split screen so you can see all the people walking by.
All right now. Okay. All right.
He's going to have a field day once it gets warm and people start standing outside.
Sure.
That is going to be Paul's dream come true.
Oh, no doubt about that. No doubt about that. But actually, back to the topic of love and hate, if I can use the language of this present age, right? In a sense, when a person, I think, is operating out of hatred, they're actually operating out of their lower self. They're operating out of their lower self, right?
Right.
And they're operating at a lower frequency. What do you think about that? This idea that if a person is locked into the idea of hatred, they're actually operating at a lower frequency. What do you think about that? I
agree. You're vibrating very low.
Whereas if you tapped into the power of love, you're functioning and you're operating at a higher plane of existence.
I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that. I have no disagreement whatsoever there.
Okay, I'm just saying. Just saying. Because look at the spirit, behind a particular thing.
Right.
And analyze the Nazi movement. Analyze fascist movements and ask yourself the question, what's the end result? What's the end result? What normally happens? They normally implode. They turn on one another because the spirit of that movement is based on hatred, right? So it has to hate, no matter who the object of their desire or concern or focus is. Hate is hate, right? But my student said that, well, Mr. Johnson, it's easier to hate than it is to love. I mean, they were talking.
I think because I think they don't recognize how vulnerable hate makes you. And I think when they were speaking,
love makes you vulnerable too.
But that's what I'm talking about. But when they were speaking from the fact that they recognize the vulnerability in love, but they don't recognize the vulnerability in hate.
Okay.
They don't recognize how blinding hate is, and how hate leaves you open.
But love can be blinding too.
Love can be protecting as well.
It can.
There's no protection in hate. There's no protection.
So that takes us full circle in our conversation concerning men and women, and that which divides. I think we divide ourselves.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
Because look, if I've had a series of negative relationships, of bad relationships, of failed relationships, and then I meet a certain young woman, right? Now I might not be as quick to disclose my true self to her. Because now I'm not comfortable with being vulnerable. In order to love, you've got to make yourself available and you've got to be vulnerable.
And hate doesn't require any of that.
You've got to risk loss.
And hate doesn't require any.
You see? No doubt about that. But what do you think about that, though, in terms of male-female relationships and that which divides? Because I think that in our community, we're divided one against the other in part because of that.
But I hear you. But you can't say that you want to be in a relationship, but then say, I want you and I want you in my life, but then constantly use the fact that we're not getting anywhere because I've been hurt before. Take your hurt behind somewhere and be alone then.
Hey.
Because if you're saying you're going to be here, then you're saying I'm willing to open myself up to all the possibilities of whatever this could be.
Absolutely.
Nobody wants to keep hearing, well, I've been hurt before.
Sure.
Okay, well, go over there until you heal. Hopefully I'm available when you come back. That's all I got for you.
That's all you got
for you. It's not my responsibility to heal you.
It's
not my responsibility.
If he's expressing himself to you at that point.
No, not if we're still.
Go on back over there.
Not if we're still.
Get out of here now.
Not if we're down the line and you're still saying, I've been hurt. Okay, well clearly you need some time to yourself to heal. I'm not.
Take a time out. Go in the corner.
I don't care where you go.
Oh Lord!
I don't care where you go.
Snap.
I don't care where you go.
I don't care where you go.
I don't care where you go.
Lord, where's the love? We just got to talk about the power of love.
Dennis said he got kicked off of the YouTube.
You don't live here no more.
You up, baby?
Love don't live here anymore.
All right, we've got 2 minutes left. We've got 2 minutes left, and
No
we just
doubt.
want to thank everyone for tuning in
Absolutely.
to Whose Opinion Is Anyway right here on 92.1
Yes.
FM. Nice and live here.
Yes, absolutely.
We were clearly live today.
Oh, no
I
doubt.
got to meet Goldie. So.
What's up, Pocahontas? You know who you are.
Are you getting this point he gives to him all? Are you getting this when he points at the camera? Man.
What's up, Pocahontas?
Vic talks, he gets more ladies. I say something, I'm just out here on my own. I make a sand to the beach joke, and it's just like, whoa. But anyway, catch us again next week live from 5 to 6 p.m. right here on 92.1 FM, on Spectacle TV, on YouTube, and on Facebook Live. Catch us next week. Whose Opinion Is It Anyway with Candace
And Victor.
right here on 92.1 FM. Thank you.
Peace.